Thanks for joining. Joint webinar in conjunction with Carrick Management and Dundee and Angus Chamber of Commerce. It's one of a series of 5, which I think you can see on your screen just now, where Carrick Management will concentrate mostly on positive aspects of what we can do, especially during this time, but also during other crisis times, or hopefully never another pandemic time. We will give you a brief overview of the series just now. First one being today, talking about has business contracted inward during the crisis, and can you actually look for opportunity instead, or growth? That will be followed in 2 weeks, or every second Tuesday. What help you can get today that wasn't there before. So again, looking at a positive aspect of what's going on just right now. And then the next one will be 2 weeks after that, on how business minds can be developed during this time. There's nothing like crisis or change for accelerating how things can move for your business and focusing the minds. Then finally, on our side, we'll do a session on honesty in facing business problems. I'm sure you're all aware, and you all use social media at the moment. There's quite some, in a way, denial at some times, but also there's a freshness about where people are beginning to look at new ways of doing business. So I think we can cover that in that session. And then on the 5th session, we're going to gather up, or we'll invite you as we go along to submit questions for that session that are troubling you, or advice that you're looking for, or help that we can try and help with in that final session. For today, I'll do an introduction on Carrick Management, and then for the session itself, I'll hand over to my colleague Nicola, who will look after what we think where you might find some growth during this period. So, a brief introduction to Carrick Management. We're a Dundee-based management consultancy. We're based down at Dundee 1 on the waterfront, so we've a rather nice view over the Tay. We're primarily interested in helping businesses to grow and to scale up, and our tagline is creating better outcomes, which is all about finding ways through culture, structure, strategy and finance to help businesses get better or to grow. We can also help during a time where you want to reduce your business, maybe the business has changed or some external factors have come into play like now, but our primary function is to try to help people grow. We're interested in businesses in the Dundee area mostly. We're happy to go elsewhere, but we have a passion for this area. I'm a Dundonian, and Nicola, for her sins, is a Fifer, but she likes to help here anyway. We're interested in businesses between $500,000 and $5 million turnover primarily, and we also have a kind of love for manufacturing, and specifically these businesses which are perhaps family owned and maybe haven't been out in the world too much in terms of getting other experience and other viewpoints on how to do things. As I said a second ago, we focus primarily on culture, structure, strategy and finance, and we work directly with the current management. We can work as interim managers, or we can join as part of the team. Either way, we're in the businesses working. We're not textbook managers. We like to get hands-on. We have a sister company also, DLR Media, which is a marketing and continuous digital marketing company. Maybe some people saw the announcement yesterday of that partnership being announced. DLR already share our office here in Dundee 1, so we're ready to go. In the past, Nicola and I, these are some of the companies that Nicola and I have worked with directly before coming to Carrick Management, or currently with Carrick Management. So for my side, I've been with Dundee Football Club. I took part in the pulling of McGill out of administration, which was highly publicised in Dundee last year. Worked with Henrik Vida Group, which I still do work with now in the Netherlands. ABF, Soldiers Charity, and one of my clients at the moment is Alexander Sturrock, a bespoke joiner in the Forfar area. Nicola's been with Wood Group, Raytheon, Technique FMC, and Maggie's. And as you see there, both of us have worked with charities as well. It's one of the principles of Carrick management that we not only conduct ourselves as a business, but we want to help, especially with social organisations in this area. Okay, what we'd like to talk about today, we wondered what series to put together or to try to help the local businesses at the moment. And one of the things that is really prevalent right now is that people are terrified of their problems. We still see this as an opportunity to grow and to look for new ways of doing things. And to kick off a little bit, where that comes from, partly, in this introduction, we have a quote here from Jack Welch. When you focus only on the crisis, it can overtake the whole organisation. That's interesting for us in that you see at the moment there's all talk about how to get government grants, how to furlough employees, how to deal with a non-market. Very little of it is positive on dealing with the crisis alone. And I think the message that we'll have as we go through the slides today is what can you do to move away from worry and concern and look for opportunity. The next one, Nicola, the advertising slogan, nobody knows where it came from. It's certainly been around for a number of years. When the times are good, you should advertise, and when the times are bad, you must advertise. We really believe that here at Carrick, in that we feel that during this crisis, there's been a lot of talk, again, about the negative things. But for small businesses particularly, who are nimble and able to move in the market, it's definitely a time where you can get your services out there. And even this webinar today is an example. We would not have been doing this had it not been for the crisis coming along. So you have to be looking at all times for opportunities and different ways of doing things. And then the final little part on the quotes, businesses that quickly understand the new environment and who respond specifically to it have the best chance to win. That's one of ours. It's not a long-standing business quote. It was made up in the last few days, trying to summarise how we feel. And I think you'll see as we go on, there are a number of opportunities that people are taking now that they wouldn't have thought about taking before. So more people are becoming even more tech savvy. They're focusing on automation. They're focusing on distance selling. They're focusing on distance marketing, these kind of things, and adapting to that world. In some ways, my opinion, and discussed with Nicola, is that if you look at some of the industries that are going on at the moment with the biggest problems, retailing, for example, and small retailing in particular, the change to the market was always coming, but this pandemic has accelerated that change and made people think much, much more quickly. Okay. And when we're talking today, we're pretty clear. We don't know everything. We don't know all the people who are in the room right now. We don't know all the businesses in the area. So there is no one path fits all solution. You've got to find the things that are relevant for you and see how you can adapt and find your own truth. The second thing to consider just now is that some businesses are really, or some sectors are really booming. I've seen a lot of businesses lately who are doing pretty well. There's online crafting businesses who are doing particularly well. Some who have growth of over 800% compared to last year. Businesses like Netflix are absolutely flying with 300% more sign-ups. 16 million people signed up to Netflix in the first quarter of this year. Boohoo, for example, are also, I think they're about double what they were last year, and it's down to clothes for web calls and lounging about the house while you're working. Zoom has been particularly growing this year, actually not that positive for people who were using it before because it's began to crash a lot with the amount of new users. But you can see in those areas that there is opportunity going forward. I think that's enough of an introduction as to why we want to do this, or why we were talking about these topics. So I'd like to hand over now to Nicola, after thanking the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and pass it over to you now, Nicola.
Yeah, thanks for that introduction, Harry. I think just the last point there is just key to focus on as well. It does seem doom and gloom at times, but this pandemic will end, but things won't go back to the way they were. So it's important that we look at the businesses.
Thank you, Nicola.
Yeah. It's just important that we look at things the way they are just now, and it provides a lot of opportunity for the future. So we just wanted to take the time to really look at how there might be growth there instead, because we know it can be very overwhelming when we're constantly watching the news and being bombarded with sort of negative messaging. We just wanted to show some light that there is opportunities out there for everyone. We just need to stop, take a breath, and see what they are. So let's get started. The first point that we wanted to really look at was about creating smiles and how you can do that within your business to help you grow. One of the first points that I really thought about was relationships with employees and how you engage with them at this time. So it could be that they're maybe working from home, or maybe they've been furloughed, but it's still really important that you keep up a communication with your employees to make sure that they're doing okay. Always to be mindful and empathetic whilst you're doing this, just to make sure that you're understanding their difficulties at this time as well, and maybe not overloading them with so much, because it is a change to the working environment, a change to everybody's life just now. So keeping that in mind and keeping a light-hearted message with your employees just to make sure that they're doing okay. And perhaps there's ways that you can reach out to them that would help them. Perhaps know that they've got children, so maybe some resources to help with that as they're maybe doing homeschooling and things like that with their families. But it is important to realise that you might not have their personal mobile number or their personal email address, and they might not have access to their work email address or phone number at this time if they've been furloughed, for example. So just maybe touching base with that and making sure that you have up-to-date information for all of your employees, so you can reach out and just let them know that you're there for them and that you appreciate it's a difficult situation, but reassure them perhaps about their job. Maybe they're nervous because they've been furloughed and what that will look like for them in the future coming back to work. At this time, it's also really good to look at the key aspects of your business and how you can become even better at them, how you can be more efficient at doing those things. And because it's maybe a slower paced environment, you maybe have more time for looking at those things, whether it be in remotely training another colleague on how to do something. It's maybe been something that's been on your mind for a while. You maybe now have that ability to do now. You maybe have the space and the time to do that. But you focus on what you do best and what's most profitable for your business, and really focus there to see what you can improve. But now there's more online ability in doing everything. We've maybe in the past would have neglected the fact that sort of overnight we would all have to work from home, but we've all managed and coped along the way. But online learning is something that's really picking up, and over the last few days, I think it's skillsdevelopmentscotland.com or .co.uk, I think it's .co.uk, have put a lot of online resources together, looking at places like Google, Microsoft, the Open University, pulling together training that you can do that will give your employees and yourselves confidence and skills that maybe you just need a little bit of boosting on, a little refresher on. And it can really broaden your horizons and things that you can do for your business at this time to grow in areas that maybe saves you having to outsource something. Maybe you can learn the skill and bring that in-house. So the next point I wanted to raise was about creating security for your organisation and the business that you run. So there's a high likelihood that you've already looked for these opportunities already, and maybe you've realised these or identified them and want to put them into place in the future, or maybe you're trying to optimise this just now. Some of the things that we've noticed is obviously there's been an increase in online sales because we can't go out to the physical retailers to buy these things. We've seen an increase in app-based sales and delivery services. Could this be an option for your business? Could this be a change in the market and the way that things will go in the future? It's perhaps things to look at that you can mobilise yourself for going forward. Automation is another great way to be able to streamline your business, to be able to make things slicker, whether that be through your accounting using programs like Xero, or customer relationship management tools online to streamline those processes, or perhaps there's something within your organisation that you can make slicker with automation that would just help take out those not high value activities, but those low value activities that take time away from you focusing on the key areas of your business that really drive the profit. I guess, like, looking at work style, I guess before this all happened, a lot of organisations were maybe reluctant to allow their employees to work from home, but I think it's been shown that people can work from home and do it well. It's maybe not ideal all of the time, but it certainly works some of the time. We've maybe moved away from training in a classroom, but there's certainly been a huge uptake on training online. And it's perhaps something that will grow in the future in a new way for things to be developed for online services to be used in the future. So perhaps this is something that can be done in your line of work, maybe looking at a different work style to facilitate for everyone in your workforce. Another area that we can look at for creating security is in acquisitions and consolidations, looking at the structure of your business and perhaps the ability to acquire other organisations at this time as the market is low for some businesses and markets. So it's perhaps somewhere that you can look at for streamlining your business and looking at a better way to restructure and reorganise things to make it grow in different areas for the future markets that are there. So when we look at pathways, I think that every crisis provides opportunities, and it's really just your ability to recognise those. I think for a lot of larger organisations, they maybe become, so focused on the here and now and things have changed for them and how they're dealing with their current business. Whereas new businesses emerge because they can more easily identify the opportunities there and pounce on them. So it's just maybe taking a step back in your organisation and trying to understand the horizon that's out there and what those opportunities are, rather than focusing inwards, really opening up and looking at the marketplace just now, looking at how the market might be changing for you from being maybe business to business to customer or vice versa, in the way that looks. Perhaps you were more used to having a longer term plan in place, but it's good to have a plan, a short-term plan with clear goals and objectives, so you can really see how you're doing in the market just now and celebrate those small wins, because it is difficult times just now. We shouldn't hide from that. But then how short is short? I mean, why not go to a day-by-day plan if needed for your organisation? There really is no right or wrong answer here. It really is about how you do this for your organisation and how that fits. We need to really look at your existing client base to understand how you can push that further, what you can do differently for your clients that you already have. But then also look and ask your customers what things that they might be looking for now or in the future that are different, that can really change the strategy of your business for knowing where to go next. Because there's a lot of talk of this new normal, and I'm sure a lot of people don't like that saying, and I've heard it far too many times. But the reality is we don't know what that future is going to look like. So we need to look at the horizon to see what opportunities are there for your business to really engage in a different way, perhaps with the customers, or perhaps there's different products and services that you can develop to bring to the market. A good way of reaching customers just now might be social media for yourself. I think recently heard a statistic that social media uses up 50%. So like Harry said at the start, it's important to advertise at a time like this. So why not use social media? Perhaps you've got an email list of your customers, perhaps reaching out to them in that way as well. Always being aware of the current situation and being empathetic towards that when you are reaching out in these situations. Again, in pathways, maybe something to plan in. I know it was on the previous slide is about acquisitions and consolidations, but again, that could be something that you're trying to plan in to carve that strategy for your future. So just look at that and see how that aligns with your business. On the next one, the Carrick Capital, I don't really have too much to add to this because there was a previous webinar that was very well. It was done earlier this month by MHA Henderson Logie, and it was Rod Mathers that covered the part on cash flow very well and provided a 13-week tool that would help your business. So if that's something you want more information on, I would suggest listening to the webinar there. It's on YouTube. If you search for Dundee and Angus Chamber of Commerce, you'll find the list of the webinars there. But it's really important to look at your cash flow at this time. It is the lifeblood of your business. So making sure that you know it inside out and that you're able to be comfortable with it. If you're in an inventory-based business, looking at different ways that you can maybe store that, maybe it's a drop shipment option for you would work. Look at maybe cheaper sources of supply. It doesn't pay sometimes to be loyal to the same supplier. You might be able to find things cheaper elsewhere. So just assessing your options there. The next point about keeping your credit in a good place is just really to be mindful that when you are looking for credit coming out of this, bear in mind the decisions you make today will impact that. But more positively than that, there are options out for you just now from the government that weren't there before. So have a look at these, because the cost of money from the government's options that are there that you might be applicable for could be the right option for you. So just assess that and understand what that looks like for your business, and it might be a great opportunity for you to get that money where you maybe previously wouldn't have been able to. Hannah, do you want to? Oh, sorry, on you go. Was it the silence?
It's just 2 minutes to 11 o'clock. So
I think we take a small pause there for the 11 o'clock silence for the NHS and the other victims. Okay, everybody, thank you for respecting that minute's silence. Slightly longer than a minute due to timing, but I think we're all okay with that at this time. Vince, okay to continue on?
Yep, that'd be perfect. Thank you, Harry.
Thanks, everybody, again. Nicola, do you want to, you finished there yet?
Yeah, you can summarise everything there for us, Harry.
Okay, thank you, Nicola, for that, and apologies for the cutting in at the end there to make sure we got the minute silence at the right time. Just going back over what Nicola was talking about there, or summarising, for everyone's benefit, if you drop us an email, we can send you the whole presentation with our notes that we read off at the bottom, because there's quite a bit in there as well. We're happy to share those. Summarising then what Nicola's just been talking about, in our four categories that we work with here at Carrick Management, creating smiles, which is all about the culture of the business. At this time, we can be building positive relationships with the employees, even more so because people are coming a little bit closer, and how to develop your talent through that period. We may have people out furloughed or working from a home office or still going to work. Either way, it's a really good time to focus on making things a little bit better. And that includes keeping in touch with the people who are furloughed and working at home a little bit more. In fact, some could say that we talk to each other a little bit more through video than we ever did sitting in the office. So again, there's a little bit of a positive to take from there. On the creating security section, which for us is the structure of your business, where can you make improvements at the time? How can you use some of this downtime to look at your activities and see how they can perhaps be realigned going forward, and taking the time to breathe. We all seem to have a little bit more time in the world right now than we had before this pandemic. With regards to the pathways, which is the expertise and strategy of your business, we're looking at how can you make plans. Traditionally, people worked on 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day plans and a year or 2 years ahead. At the moment, businesses are needing to focus on one-day plans, 7-day plans, what they're going to do the week after next. And I think it's important that you're continually discussing that and communicating that with your teams and with perhaps your network as well. There's things to learn in every direction you look at the moment. And on the last section, capital, as Nicola said, Rod Mather's covered that pretty well from Henderson Logie a few weeks ago, and you can find that online. Cash is king at the moment. We all have these, well, we're being bombarded as small businesses with the saviour plans of the government, which, yeah, you could probably tell by my wry smile, doesn't work for all of us. It's one of these things that you can take advantage of. But what about your current cash? Can you use the grants that are available? Can you use the lower interest loans, if you can get them, to accelerate your business instead of worrying day to day how to even survive? It's important right now that we all look after our money, but it's also important that we don't stop using it in positive ways. I don't know if you all saw or anyone saw in the last few days that we are continuing to invest here at Carrick Management going forward, and right now. It's not a time to stop all your activities. Yes, think about them, but if you can proceed, go ahead, because the cash flow in the businesses and around the community is highly important, especially when we get out of this pandemic.
Thanks, Harry. So I'm just going to do a little recap about our webinar series. If you do want to sign up for them all or just individual ones, you can do so on the Dundee Chamber of Commerce website. And just a little reminder that the 5th one, we really want to hear from you. We're really interested to know what's troubling you, what you would need some advice on. So please get in touch with us to let us know your questions. You can do so in a variety of ways, and you can go through our website or email ourselves at info@carrickmanagement.com. Once this is all over and we can meet up again and all this, we would love for you to come into the office at Dundee 1 and sit down and have a coffee with us, just to hear how things are going for your business and if there is any way that we can help whatsoever, even if it is just bouncing ideas off ourselves, just for peace of mind. We're more than willing to do that. In the meantime, we would love for you to have a video call with us if there's something in particular you would like to discuss. You can contact us through LinkedIn or on Twitter as well. In a minute, I'm just going to open up to any questions if there's any that have come through. But before I do that, I just wanted to make sure that we thank Dundee Chamber of Commerce again for facilitating this session. I know we had some technical difficulties just before we went live this morning, so I really appreciate the quick turnaround and getting that all sorted. So thank you, Dundee Chamber of Commerce, for helping us facilitate these webinars. Are there any questions from anybody?
Thank you very much, Harry and Nicola. I actually have a question. Sorry, I jumped the queue.
Okay.
In terms of automation, marketing automation's something of an interest of mine. But previously, there's not been many organizations picking up automation in the marketing industry. Are you starting to see a shift towards automation in marketing? Are you starting to see a shift towards marketing artificial intelligence?
Yeah, absolutely. Our partner company, our sister company, DLR Media, who Daniel Rosie, I think he's in the room right now. Daniel is seeing day by day more and more inquiries from businesses trying to set up their market. In fact, we can talk about our social media marketing over the next 30 days. We don't have to do anything. It's set up now. It's all planned in advance. Barring a crisis, businesses like DLR Media can put together plans for 30 days, 60 days, even the full year. People are planning in advance. And I think more and more businesses are becoming aware of the services that are on offer and how you can do that. I mean, I'm not a big, you can probably tell by the lack of social media I use, but I'm not a huge Twitter user or Instagram or anything else. Some of these things we are learning, I mean, I'm 50 years old, I'm having to learn these things as we go along. For the younger people, and I'm putting Nicola in that category just now and Daniel, they're really miles ahead, absolutely miles ahead of people our age or my age, and a few of the other names I see on that list there that I know. We're not used to this. We're really about interacting with people on a face-to-face basis at all times. In fact, a few people would say that you can't do business without face-to-face meetings. I would have to call that out now and say, well, that's just not true. We've managed to all adapt and little webinars like these and sessions that we're having on a daily basis. I mean, one of the things I can tell you, Vince, is that Nicola and I have been working together only since April 2nd, officially, and we're yet to sit in the same room. We've never actually had a meeting face-to-face as a business due to this social distancing. So using these new technologies and putting together marketing plans in advance is absolutely crucial for us. We can't do anything other than that. I think Daniel's in the room. I don't know if he wants to talk a little.
Daniel, are you in?
Daniel, are you able to come in there for a second?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're hearing Daniel properly at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of distortion. He's definitely there.
He's definitely there, but we can't hear him. If anyone wants to take that one further, Vince, please just get in touch with us and we can put you in touch with people who can do full marketing plans for an automated where you don't have to do
it. Or something, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Is there anyone in the room that has any questions for Nicola or for Harry or Daniel, if we can get him back?
It's a very quiet audience today.
It's a strange thing about webinars, isn't it? If you're in a room, you can gauge people's reaction based on their faces, but you can't see their faces. So you don't know if someone might have a question.
Harry,
I've got another.
Harry, good morning, and to you, Nicola, and Vince also. Harry, Nicola, you're both I newly discovered neighbours of mine in the Dundee 1 building. We're on the second floor, but obviously I'm at home just now. We're a daughter company of a Chinese parent company. Our head office here in the UK, in Dundee 1, involved in heavy lifting vessels out in the North Sea and other places. But I do that as part of my individual consultancy called Aegon International, which is why I'm interested in Carrick management. One question is, and perhaps others might have the same question but are not ready to pipe up yet. what I was looking for today was perhaps an indication of perhaps case studies of your methodology, worked examples, either from Carrick Management yourselves, your own background, or from similar entities that you have led you to this point in time, where you've witnessed the success of that type of methodology. I have a number of business interests which are yet to come off the ground. Is missing a couple of critical ingredients. But I would like to see, I would like to know if you're able to provide perhaps a case study of the success and the pathway, the overall pathway of your management methodology.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that would be quite difficult to do. I can give a brief summary right now, but I don't know if you want to get together, Eddie, and have a discussion offline directly on that. We have previously worked, it's interesting you're talking about heavy lifting vessels offshore. I have used pretty much this focus on a company called Carrick Capital Group in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, who are also involved in the heavy lift industry, both in mainland Europe and in Aberdeen and Sheffield here in the UK. Where, excuse me, that's phone ringing, should switch that off.
Yeah, it's the beauty of live TV.
Thanks for that phone, appreciate it. The problem is that the phone is off, but it came through on the laptop because the phone's off, which is not clever. Yeah, just going through that. Beginning with the culture part, Eddie, just as an example, we went through some major changes in the oil and gas industry over the last number of years, as I'm sure you're aware. And the culture, I don't want to bog everybody down on one particular case study, but in this one, the culture in Aberdeen is hugely focused on health and safety, for example. In Rotterdam, it wasn't. It was all about big macho guys, 6'4", 6'5", thinking that the world couldn't do them any harm. So when I looked at Carrick Capital Group as a whole, we had to really take into account how we could give a big culture change on health and safety right across all the sites together. And that was a difficult process, because we had Aberdeen people who, because of the past, were hugely focused on health and safety as we went along anyway, and people in the Netherlands who were resistant to it simply because nothing bad had really happened to them. Mm-hmm. So that in itself was one example of pushing through a culture change across a whole, Norway, Poland, Netherlands, Azerbaijan, Aberdeen at the same time. And each individual problem comes along with its own set of circumstances, as I'm sure you're aware. But moving that on has happened, but it took 2 years or so to get that changes in place. It wasn't, we're not able to switch on a light overnight. Another example, very small example, a business that I work with in Forfar now, Alexander Sturrock, it's a joinery company. That is a fantastic bespoke joinery business, but their culture was to look for business within 50 miles of their own premises. And in terms of sales, that was a very limited market they could go into. They had to expand how they looked at everything, and now do business in London, which they never imagined they would do. So each individual case, and I'm happy to meet with you or have a longer conversation on your particular question and see if we can put together some various actual case studies for you to use as examples. But they are there in pretty much every business we've worked with so far. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answers, because we haven't got the case studies right here as we speak right now, but happy to take that up with you offline.
Well, Harry, I'd like to do that, but obviously we are awaiting, well, certainly we in the Dundee 1 office, we're all working from home and will be for probably the next, well, officially until the next government review, which is the 7th of May. But I would like to have a chat with you, either when we can get back to the same building or perhaps beforehand.
Also, we can do it here on a Teams meeting, no problem as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I should probably drop you a line on that. What I'm particularly looking for, Harry, is to map the lessons that you've just described, most of which I'm familiar with. But I'm sure in your toolkit somewhere there's probably hidden gems which would take a much longer meeting than this for you to go through.
No problem.
So, well, we'll hook up afterwards, I think.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks very much, Eddie. Harry, just one other question in terms of how businesses are contracting at the moment. We're definitely seeing a lot within the local region of businesses telling us that, their businesses are contracting. Do you have any sort of tips or quick wins on or guides on how people could deal with this?
I did have a one-word change on one of the slides earlier on that Nicola wouldn't allow me to leave in. The biggest piece of advice I'd like to give everybody is that, and I'm going to say it, Nicola, whether you like it or not, Nicola changed it to "this pandemic will end." Yeah. I originally had it as "this shit will end." It will be worked through. We will get through this. Yeah. The difficulty, I think, for a wider audience, we have a range of businesses in the Dundee and Tayside area, and if you look at, just before this began, we were looking at buying a small gift shop in the city. The reality is that for the retail industry, as an example, this was coming anyway. There was going to be changes. But what's happened is instead of taking another 5 or 10 years for technology-based changes to kick in and keep changing the face of the retail industry, as an example, this pandemic has accelerated that change really, really quickly. And where businesses, there are some businesses in Dundee that are MTC down at City Quay. They have produced an app which helps, for example, convenience stores to take orders and to deliver those to the local community. They did that before this pandemic ever came along. They'd already been thinking about how that could work in terms of moving local-based businesses forward at the same speed as national and international businesses. And the biggest thing I think people can do at the moment is, and I think it's number 4 in the series, is actually be honest with themselves as to where their businesses are today and where they want to go for the future. But a lot of that is now accelerating, and they are, at this particular time, they may be contracting hospitality and pubs and restaurants. Really incredibly difficult time for them right now. Absolutely horrible. But for other businesses, there is a chance to consolidate and look at where groups of businesses who are similar, maybe in different geographical locations, can come together and build a network of similar businesses, talk to each other more, share information. People have been terrified for years of sharing information and losing a competitive advantage. I would argue that you can gain a competitive advantage by sharing information as quickly as possible now. I don't know if that answers fully what you're looking for there, Vince.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. These are definitely testing times. I wonder if Daniel, are you able to come on the call yet? Daniel Rosen.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Cool, perfect, no problem at all. So yeah, no, just one on your marketing kind of automation point. We've been seeing a lot of clients. So we're mainly focused on service-based companies from a marketing perspective. So a lot of the time it's slightly different, the approach to how you get clients. And prior to this, a lot of clients would include in their marketing plan their network and their business development, and that whole concept's changed completely. And a lot of these businesses potentially, even if it's we've had joinery companies, construction companies, multiple different ones I've worked with over the past couple of weeks that say, Daniel, how do I cope? How do I even estimate? I'm free just now. I could be getting pipeline in business for 3 months in advance, but how do I physically do it? So we've been working with them on a kind of onboarding strategy of, well, how can you take quotes online? And it's how we automate that as much as possible. So we've been using a lot of social media adverts. We've been using Facebook bots. So automates the process to a certain extent for them. So it actually prospects the client. We could expect maybe 200 leads off the back of a social media campaign for one client. We then can prospect that down to 50 clients and present the client with 50 ideal clients that are ready to spend. They've also talked them through some FAQs, so the size and the measurements of their living room or their kitchen, for example, for their new kitchen is there, the images are there, everything's ready to go, and it gives them everything they need to be able to quote and give the customer a rough price. So we've been putting a lot of kind of different automation tools in the back there, and it's been quite good because a lot of these companies are saying, I'm saying to them, you may have the time just now, but once some of them actually a lot of them still work on the tools. So they're coming home at night and they're spending 6 till 10 o'clock at night trying to quote for work, or going through to, I had clients that were going through to Perth and then they were going to Dundee, back through to Dundee to do all these quotes, and they were getting there and the customers weren't prospect right. They weren't in the right, they didn't have the budget to spend on what their product was. So I think doing the automation has allowed them to cut their inquiry level down, but really qualify people without them having to do any extra work. So when they go back to being on the tools, they know they might have 50 inquiries, leads sitting for the month, but they're good quality. They know when they turn up to measure, the customer knows the price, they're happy and they're ready to proceed. So there's a range of different things we're looking at, but there's lots of potential out there. A lot of things we've already done with some existing clients on automation. It's kind of looking at, and it's a good time to do it. I think Nicola and Harry covered it with kind of looking at your existing data sets. So if it's employees, if it's customers, if it's subcontractors, if you've got all that centralized somewhere and tidy, it makes your job and life a lot easier month on month. And it actually should add value to your business. It's then looking at that and seeing what you can do with that. Sometimes you might not be able to get new clients right now, but you can actually potentially upsell or get more out of your existing clients who already know you. So if you have that data sitting there, it's how can you help them and maybe use that in an automated way to improve things.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Appreciate it. I think we're now at 26 minutes past. Does anybody else have any other questions for our speakers or for anybody else that's on the call?
I think we've gone quiet now, Vince.
Do you guys have anything else you want to add in the last couple of minutes?
Just one final thing, because it looks like we're about to wrap up. Harry, and Nicola, if I just drop you a note via the contact on your company website, and we'll maybe arrange a little chat sometime later in the week. Will that be okay?
Appreciate that, Eddie.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sorry, Harry and Nicola, do any of you guys want to add anything before we wrap up?
I just wanted to thank you everyone for logging in today. And if you have any questions, it's no problem to just drop us an email at info@carrickmanagement.com and we'll come back to you as quickly as possible.
Perfect. Just so that everybody remembers, this is a series of webinars, so the next one will be next week. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you to Harry, Nicola, and everybody else that was on the call. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Cheers.
Bye-bye.